Hey, what's up everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is Unsung Season 13, and this episode is about 702. I had to say, this is one of my favorite girl groups. I remember growing up on their music. I mean, when I was growing up in my earlier years, like in high school, middle school and high school, 702 was everywhere, and 702, everybody was on 702. I mean, that's how big they were. And I will have to say they are one of the best girl groups of all time, and I think Unsung did a phenomenal job doing this episode, and we actually found out a lot of things that even some of us fans didn't know about how much internal strife and grief is what led to the demise of the group. So, they're originally from Las Vegas, Nevada. The group consisted of sisters Misha, Irish, and her twin sister Arish. And but then the lineup that we end up getting was Misha, Irish, and Mila down the line. But at first it was the sisters Misha, Irish, and her twin sister Arish. And I think when Misha, who's the eldest out of the girls, because I think their mother had 7 kids, so they were a big family, and I think when Misha was 12, her mother entered her into this talent showcase, and the guy who I think his name was Adrian Mitchell, who ended up becoming their manager. He liked her. He really loved Misha's talent. But then their mother was like, "Oh, you think she good? Listen to my girl." So then Misha, Irish and Arish went on stage with Misha to sing, and immediately they became a group from that moment. And that's when at the time the name of the group was Sweeter Than Sugar. That was their name, and they made their rounds, going to talent shows, performing at different functions, and they ended up being at Caesar's Palace, and that's where they met Sinbad. I actually met Sinbad before when I was younger. Like, Sinbad is a really nice guy, and Sinbad at the time is at the height of his career in comedy, and they saw Sinbad and they went over there to sing for him. Sinbad was very impressed with them, and he really loved their talent and loved their drive. He said that these girls wanted it. So what he does is that he enters them into this showcase called Jack the Rapper. They perform at this showcase, and they run into Michael Bivins. Michael Bivins of New Edition, also Michael Bivins of Boyz II Men fame. And at first, Michael Bivins was kind of blowing them off, was kind of giving them the hush, but then the crowd was like, no, the people in the audience was like, no, you need to hear these girls got them, these girls got something, you need to sign them. So Misha and her 2 sisters performed for Michael Bivins, and he's impressed, and a week later he reaches back out to them, and he ends up signing them to his label, Biv 10, which was a branch of Motown Records. And then immediately he said that if we really want to help put these girls on the map, hey, let's make the name from where they're from, give them the area code, and that's where the name 702 came from. That's the area code of Las Vegas. So he immediately begins working with them, and they also decided that they needed to add another girl, because it was just the 3 of them. So they added another girl, Amila, to the group. And I remember Amila was in their first video. And the first song that they do is this song that was written by Gerald Levert. It's called this Little Game We Play. And I remember that shit when it came out. I think like either 4th or 5th grade when that song came out, and I remember, that song was the shit. I mean, and what good way to come out, because they were teenagers at the time, and they were also on the track with another group that was on Biv 10 called Subway. Subway has some good songs too, but that song, that duet between Subway and 702 was the shit. And oh my god, I can even remember it now, like, of how much I was drawn to that song. And like, that song still to this day rocks. Like, so we can play this little game we play, where you go high and I will seek. Let me be the one to make you weak. I was like, ooh. I was like, I mean, it was a really great song, and it helped put 702 on the map. That song went to number 4 on the R&B charts. And I remember as a kid listening to that song. I mean, I was always watching the video on BET, and I was always hearing it on the radio. I mean, the song was big, and, Misha, Irish, and Amila, they had arrived. But little had they arrived, they began to feel the pressures of the business. Now that they have a hit, now they're doing TV shows, radio interviews, studio sessions, all of it, all of it was just, thrown onto them because they wanted it, but weren't really prepared of how to jump in at it. So they had some internal issues. And also, one thing that Mike noticed is that two of the girls weren't as vocally strong, as Misha and Irish. So they pretty much dropped Amila and Irish, and they went to they actually replaced them with 2 girls. Tiffany and Mila. I forgot the other girl. And Tiffany ended up leaving in 6 months later. Tiffany left the group, so therefore it was just Mila. So that's where the trio that we know, Misha, Irish, and Mila was born. And Mila is a great singer. I mean, phenomenal singer. Misha's a great singer too, but Mila is definitely a powerhouse in her own right. And the great thing about it is that each girl was different, so it actually rounded the group more with just the 3 of them. And yeah, Mila was that, she grew up singing in church and in talent shows. Yeah, Mila is definitely a force to be reckoned with. And their next song that they came out with was in 1996, Stilo. Remember that, Jane? Yes, Stilo was that shit. And I remember Stilo was the theme song for that Nickelodeon show. What's the name of that show? Cause old boy that was on 1-on-1 was the name of that show, and he had a puppet, and Megan Good was on that show too. If y'all remember the name of that show, put it down in the comments. It's not coming to me right now, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Cause Robert Richard, was played the lead role, and he had a puppet. I think his name was Scooter or something like that. But then, and then Megan Good was on the show too. But Stilo was the theme song to that show, and that was a song that was written by Chad Elliott and Missy Elliott, And Missy Elliott said that, look, Stilo for me was kind of like that, it was all about style and all about presence. And she said I was also smoking weed a lot during that time, so it was all about grooving also. So, and it's like, that's pretty cool. And also, Lorianne Gibson, the infamous Lorianne Gibson choreographer, she actually was their choreographer, and she was the one that was like getting those dance steps, she was the one that was working with them on the choreography. And Stilo went to number 12 on the R&B charts. But then they started talking about the next track they released, because this is, I think, because I think this is like their first album or whatever. And yes, but then the second song they talk about is the one that was written by Darnell Jones, and it was Get It Together, one of my favorite songs from them. Like, that song that song to this day even melts me when I listen to it. I don't really want to stay, I don't really want to go, but I really want to know, can we get it together? I'm like, ooh, that song just takes me out, y'all. So I was like really loving that song. You know, I have to say, as I said, I even put it in my notes. That's my favorite song because it is. That was my favorite 702 song. That came out in '97 and it went number 3 at the R&B charts, and it actually helped for their album to go gold. You know, because they had a few hits on their first album, and they also talk about Irish and her, you know, relationship with Ray J. Her and Ray J was like together for 8 years, and she says that Ray J was her first. But then we also know that Ray J, you know, definitely was a ladies' man, so that's what broke them up. And then also around this time of the group's rise, we're seeing that they start talking about that there became a divide between Mila and Misha because the producers and the people on the label wanted to put Mila more up front instead of Misha, where Misha was the one who actually created the group, and she was just a dynamic vocalist just as well as Mila was. And Mila was like, you know, it started to become issues between me and Misha because I was getting more vocals. But you know, their issue was that why weren't you saying anything? Why weren't you arguing? You know, with them? Why weren't you? It's like everything you said, you just went along with it. You never rejected it. And Mila explains it wasn't because they was offering me everything. It was because I was the new girl coming in to an established group. The two of them were sisters. I was just grateful to be there. So whatever happened, you know, I was along for the ride. You know. And so with that, we noticed that one of the next songs that they did, "All I Want" from the Good Burger soundtrack. I even remember from that. The video and everything where they kind of had that little intro, and he's like, "So do you know the slogan? Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. May I take your order?" I just loved it, and it was cute. And All I Want" was a great song, and it was a song that all three of them sung lead on. So. And we really saw that, yeah, that video, you could tell that they were having fun. So here it is. They got a gold album. They got gold singles. They're on tour. You know, they're the opening act for New Edition. You know, from that, at the Back at It Again tour, you know, the one that was real crazy. If you saw the New Edition movie, you know, where the whole shootout and all that happened, it was that tour, and 702 was the opening act. But around this time, Mike Bivins had left Motown due to creative differences as well as monetary issues. So he left them, and because they were attached to Motown, 702 was pretty much Motown's property. So he probably wanted to take them with him, but he couldn't. So they were still stuck at Motown. Also, their manager gets locked up because their management was their older sister Andrea, I think, and her husband. And when he got locked up, you know, they dropped the two of them, and Sonia Norwood, you know, the mother of Brandy and Ray J, love me some Sonia Norwood. She ended up becoming their manager. I mean, it was just amazing how Sonia, you know, really became that powerhouse, because Sonia don't take no shit. So, because we definitely noticed that she not only was manager of Brandy, but she also managed 702 for a while, and I think she also managed Jagged Edge as well. So, you know, Sonia was definitely that manager that got stuff done. So with her at the helm, you know, they still continued to have hits, and they continue to skyrocket. You know, because I'm saying Sonia gets stuff done. In '98, they did this song "Beat Me 911," which was Missy Elliott's debut, and I remember that song. That was actually one of my favorite songs on the album. Yes, because I remember the video. I thought the video was so crazy because Missy was kind of having like it was like these like dolls or whatever. It's like Missy was kind of glammed up a little bit, but yet was still very quirky and weird at the same time, which is what I loved about Missy. And that fact that she had 702 that actually helped launch her career, and they said that they were happy to be a part of it because because they pretty much said we helped her build her confidence because this was her first time being in the front. Missy is used to being in the back, and now she's an artist herself. But they said that yeah, we helped her out, and they loved being on that track. And I remember that track was hot. And then it came time to do their next album. I think their sophomore album. Misha gets pregnant, with her son. And they talk about how Motown wanted to replace Misha. They even were holding auditions to find girls to replace her. And, Irish was one of the main ones, as well as Mila, saying, like, no, we can't replace her. So eventually Motown let it go. So 1999, their next album comes out, and that's where My Girl's At was on, and that was like one of their biggest hits. It actually went platinum. It went number 3 on the R&B charts and went number 9 pop. So that was like their biggest hit to date. And while they were doing the video, Misha was 6 months pregnant with her son. And, Misha has her son, Tony Jr., and while she was on maternity leave, Irish's twin sister Irish took Misha's spot while they were on tour. So while Misha was on maternity leave, they were on tour, and Irish stood in place for Misha, while she stood home to care for her baby. And I remember, I think they were on Rachel's Planet, like on BET, when they actually announced that. I actually remember watching that. And I was just kind of like blown away of how much Irish and Irish, really looked alike. You could tell the difference between the two, but they definitely, they were twins, of course, but they were semi-identical. You could definitely tell which one was Irish and which one was Irish. But but how close they looked like to each other was crazy. So, and I remember they were kind of wilding out about it. But then again, it was great that But then again, for Irish, she said that it was good that Irish realized that we didn't forget about her, and that she was still a part of the group. So while Misha was on maternity leave, Irish was filled her spot. So then, what ended up happening was that Lavelle, who was their former manager, and also their brother-in-law, he gets out of jail, and they wanted to go back to their old management team, so they wanted to bring him back. But then Mila was like, "Okay, well, if you're gonna bring back Lavelle, then I want my mom to be a part of the management team too." And let's just say there was a meeting that they all had, and it went completely left. Misha was just so not having it. She flipped the hell out. It was like, fuck all you bitches, blah, blah, blah. And it just gets crazy. And, Mila was like, you know what? I'm done. I can't. Because it got to the point where Misha wanted to fight her mother. And Mila was like, oh, hell no. I ain't with this shit. So they pretty much parted ways. But then... And then they actually added this girl Cree to replace Mila, but then Motown scrapped that. It was like, oh no, we want Mila back. So they pretty much created a separate contract for Mila to come back, and they gave her double the money, And they worked on their third album, Star, and Pharrell was the producer that they worked with, and we know how sick Pharrell is. And but yet, due to the fact they had separate management teams, also, Andre Harrell was the head of Motown when they were signed, but later on, Kadar Massenberg took over the head of Motown. And, what ended up happening was that there was Mila's management, and then Irish and Misha's management, and they were just butting heads, just constantly butting heads. And the label head just wasn't here for it because he just took over. He's all about delivering, and due to the fact that there was all this internal, beef going on behind the scenes, that's what disintegrated the group, and 702 was over after that. He literally shelved them. And Misha talks about how she went into a deep depression. Mila talks about how she went to singing background for Macy Gray, and that she was recognized at the time, and that started to be an issue for her. But then after a while, she said that she enjoyed singing. She didn't care, and she just continued to do what she had to do. And then I think Irish ended up getting a job at a hotel, which she actually helped Misha get a job there too, and she's been there for years. Sadly, in 2008, Irish's twin sister had passed away due to complications with hepatitis. And I remember when she had passed, I remember reading about it in Jet. It was very sad. And then they said that after that is what mended them. It brought them back together. Because Mila even said that due to all the crazy stuff we was dealing with in the business, I loved them. And we were all like family. So when Irish passed away, I felt that. And she says that I would never turn my backs on them. And we saw that Mila was emotional. So so that was evident that, yeah, Mila really cared about them beyond the business. So it was that where they started to work together again and started to collaborate once again. And, they're out now, about to... I can't wait to see what else they have in store for us. They even show their kids. Mila, was once married to Music Soul Child, and they have a son, Zachariah, who's autistic. And I remember when she was on R&B Divas. Yeah, I think it was the second or third season she was. Yeah, I think it was the third season she was on there. And she actually talked about her doing things for autistic children, and she's a great mother. And we saw that she had her son looks exactly like Music too, looks exactly like his dad. And then we see that Misha shows her daughter rhythm, and her daughter can sing too. So I'm like, yeah, we definitely can see that we might be seeing rhythm down within a few years or so. And then Irish has a son named Bryce. And it was just great seeing that they now became mothers. They started families, and yet they had mended their fences. And like in 2017, they made their debut in over 10 years. Almost, I would say probably even more than that. Probably over 15 or 16 years. This is their first time. Like 2007, I think they were at the Soul Train Awards. It was like the first time they all were there together. So they're still a lane for 702, and 702 gonna do some great things, man. So I'm like so here to see what 702 is gonna do next. And I know that the three of them are back together. Can't nothing stop them, because the only thing that stopped them before was their internal issues. If it wasn't for that, they would probably still be. They probably would have never died. But I'm happy that they're back together, and I can't wait to see what they have in the future. So that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell to get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social networks. I have them all listed in the description box. And also, let me right quick give a shout out to my best friend Kenneth Tukes of the K2 Spot. Definitely check out his YouTube channel. He does a lot of great music reviews, and we definitely talked about 702 because both me and him love music, and 702 is also one of his favorite groups as well. So definitely wanted to give him a shout out, and say that, yeah, bestie, keep on doing what you do. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Unsung right here on KRS TV. So until next time, everybody, take care.